There's a small community in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where the average elder wakes up at 5 in the morning, moves without complaint, and works until the sun drops. No gym membership, no physical therapist on speed dial, no compression socks ordered off Amazon at 2 in the morning. Outsiders drive through and assume these people are just built different. Genetics, maybe. Simple living, hard work. They take a photo from the car window and move on. But here's what they miss. The Amish don't just work hard, they move in a very specific way. A structured, intentional, almost ritualistic way that modern medicine is only now beginning to catch up to. And the seniors, the ones in their 70s, 80s, even 90s, they don't just stay mobile, they stay strong, they stay balanced, they stay out of the nursing home. The title of this video says, "They never walk." That's not a mistake. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly what that means and why it's probably the most important thing missing from how most people over 60 move every single day. Let's start with what most people get wrong about Amish fitness. When researchers from the University of Tennessee strapped pedometers on Amish farmers back in the early 2000s, they expected to find high step counts. They found something that made them stop and reread the data. Amish men were averaging over 18,000 steps a day. Women were averaging around 14,000. Compare that to the average American, who barely scrapes 6,000 on a good day. But here's the part nobody talks about. It wasn't the walking that made the difference. It was everything that happened between the walking. Amish life is built on what exercise scientists now call functional loading. That means your muscles, joints, and bones are constantly being asked to handle real weight, real resistance, real instability, not on a machine with a padded seat, but in the actual world. Carrying feed, lifting bales, kneeling in the garden, climbing into a buggy without a step, getting back down from a loft without a rail. The body doesn't know the difference between a deadlift in a gym and pulling a stubborn post from frozen ground. The stimulus is the same. The adaptation is the same, and when you do that every day for 60, 70 years, the body doesn't forget how to be strong. Modern seniors, on the other hand, stop loading their bodies somewhere around retirement. They sit more, they reach less, they avoid anything that feels like effort because they've been told, directly or indirectly, that effort at their age means risk. Their doctor says, "Be careful." Their kids say, "Let me get that for you." And slowly, quietly, the body starts to unlearn everything it spent a lifetime building. The Amish never got that memo. Now let's talk about the 3 specific exercises. Not because the Amish sit down and program a workout, they don't. But because when researchers and movement specialists have studied the physical demands of traditional Amish life, 3 movement patterns show up over and over again as the ones responsible for the extraordinary physical condition of their elders. 3 patterns you can replicate without a farm, without a barn, and without getting up at 5 in the morning. Although honestly, that last part wouldn't hurt. The first is what I'm going to call the low sit. Go into any Amish home during a meal, during a church service, during a quilting gathering, and watch how people sit. They don't sink into recliners. They sit on benches, hard, flat, backless benches. And they get up and down from those benches dozens of times a day without holding on to anything. What that does to the body over a lifetime is almost unfair to watch. Sitting down under control and standing back up without assistance is one of the single most powerful predictors of longevity ever studied. A Brazilian physician named Claudio Gil Araujo published research showing that the ability to sit down on the floor and stand back up, scored on a simple 10-point scale, directly correlated with mortality risk in adults between 51 and 80 years old. Every point you lost off that score was associated with a 21% increase in mortality from all causes. 21% per point. The Amish elder who has been getting up from a backless bench 3 times a day for 70 years has a hip flexor strength, a quad strength, and a balance capacity that most sedentary 60-year-olds couldn't match on their best day. Here's how you replicate it. Sit down on a firm chair, not a soft couch, a firm chair, and stand up without using your hands. That's it. That's the starting point. Do it 10 times in the morning, do it 10 times in the evening. When that gets easy, lower the surface. Use a coffee table height. Then try from the floor. The Amish aren't doing chair squats. They're just living in a world that demands they get up and down without help, every single day, without exception. Your world probably doesn't demand that, so you have to demand it from yourself. The second movement pattern is what I'd call the carry. Amish seniors carry things, not occasionally, constantly. A pail of water to the animals, a basket of laundry to the line, a grandchild from one room to another, firewood from the pile to the stove. These aren't heavy gym carries. They're moderate loads, carried for moderate distances, multiple times a day, every day. What this does to the body is something no amount of walking can replicate. Carrying a load, even a light one, forces your core to stabilize, your grip to engage, your shoulders to pack, your glutes to fire with every step. It's a full-body exercise disguised as a chore. Strength researchers have started calling this the farmer's carry, and it's one of the most efficient exercises in existence for building the kind of functional strength that keeps older adults upright, independent, and out of emergency rooms after a slip on the kitchen floor. Grip strength alone, which is massively trained by carrying, is now considered one of the best biomarkers of overall health in aging adults. A 2015 study in The Lancet tracked nearly 140,000 people across 17 countries and found that grip strength was a stronger predictor of cardiovascular death than blood pressure. Stronger than blood pressure. Let that sit for a moment. Amish seniors have been training their grip every single day since they were children. Not because someone told them grip strength was important, because the farm demanded it. You can replicate this with a grocery bag, a gallon jug of water, or an actual farmer's carry with a pair of dumbbells. Pick up something that weighs between 10 and 30 pounds, whatever is challenging but manageable for you, and walk with it. Walk to the mailbox and back. Walk around the block. Walk the length of your house 10 times. Switch hands. Walk slowly. Walk like the load matters, because to your body, it does. If you do nothing else from this video, do the carry 3 or 4 times a week. You will feel a difference in 6 weeks that surprises you. The third movement pattern is the hinge. The Amish bend forward at the hips constantly, planting seeds, feeding animals, picking things up from the ground, leaning over a workbench, pulling weeds. Every time they hinge forward and come back up, they are training the posterior chain, the hamstrings, glutes, lower back, and the deep stabilizers of the spine, in a way that almost no modern exercise routine adequately addresses. Here is the dirty secret of modern lower back pain. And this is important, so stay with me. The majority of chronic lower back pain in older adults is not caused by injury. It's caused by weakness. Specifically, weakness in the muscles that are supposed to hold the spine upright under load. When those muscles haven't been asked to do their job in years, the joints and discs pick up the slack. And joints and discs are not designed to be the primary load bearers. They break down, they herniate, they degenerate. And then the person says their back is bad and they need to be careful, and they sit more, and the muscles weaken further, and the cycle continues until they can't get off the floor without help. The Amish elder with the strong posterior chain doesn't have this problem, not because of genetics, because of decades of daily hinging. You replicate this with what's called a Romanian deadlift or a simple hip hinge. Stand with your feet shoulder-width apart. Push your hips backward, not down, backward, while keeping your spine neutral and your knees soft. Lower your hands toward your shins. Feel the stretch through the back of your legs. Drive your hips forward to come back up. That's it. Do that with your body weight to start. Add a pair of light dumbbells when it feels comfortable. Do 3 sets of 10, 3 times a week. This one movement, done consistently for 3 months, has reversed back pain in patients who had been managing it for years. Not every patient, but enough that every physical therapist worth talking to has it somewhere in their toolkit. Now here's the piece that ties all of this together, and it's the part that answers the title. The Amish seniors never just walk. Walking is beautiful. Walking is underrated. Walking more is almost always good advice. But walking alone does not preserve muscle mass. It does not maintain bone density. It does not keep your balance sharp enough to catch yourself when you trip over the edge of a rug. It does not train the grip that prevents a fall from turning into a spiral. It does not maintain the hip hinge that lets you pick something up off the floor without bracing yourself against the counter first. Walking is the baseline. The Amish use it as a baseline, but on top of that baseline, every single day, without thinking about it, they are squatting, carrying, hinging, reaching, pulling, pushing, and loading their bodies in ways that modern retirement culture has systematically removed. And the result is elders who don't look like elders in any way we're used to seeing. There's a story, and this comes from researchers who have spent time in Amish communities, about an 82-year-old man who was still helping raise barn frames, not supervising, helping, physically contributing. The researchers asked him what his secret was. He looked at them the way you'd look at someone who asked why water is wet. He said he never stopped. That's it. He never stopped. The tragedy of modern aging is not that the body gives out. It's that we stop asking it to show up before it has to. We remove the demands, thinking we're being kind. And the body, which is the most adaptive machine ever built, responds to the removal of demand the only way it knows how. It downsizes. It gets rid of what isn't being used. Muscle disappears at a rate of 3 to 8% per decade after 30, and that rate accelerates sharply when you stop loading. Bone density follows the same curve. Balance follows. Reaction time follows. The Amish elder who is still sharp at 85 isn't defying biology. They're obeying it more faithfully than the rest of us. The three movements, the low sit, the carry, and the hinge, are not complicated. They are not extreme. You do not need a gym, a trainer, a program, or a subscription. You need about 20 minutes 3 times a week and the willingness to ask your body to work again. Start with the low sit. 10 get-ups from a firm chair, no hands, morning and evening. Add the carry 3 times a week, any load you can manage safely for a few minutes. Add the hip hinge 2 or 3 times a week with body weight only until the movement feels natural. That's the whole program. That's the Amish formula translated into something you can do in your living room or your backyard or your driveway. One thing worth saying before you go, there are people who will watch this and think it's too simple. That real fitness has to be complicated, periodized, supplemented, and optimized to within an inch of its life. And for certain goals, that's true. But for the goal of being strong, mobile, independent, and out of the nursing home at 85, simple wins. Consistent wins. Doing the basics relentlessly for decades wins. The Amish didn't discover some secret. They just never lost something the rest of us quietly gave up. And the good news, the genuinely great news, is that the body doesn't care how long you've been sitting. It responds to demand at 60 the same way it responds at 30. Slower, maybe. But it responds. The question is just whether you're going to ask it to.